Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. I am your host, Laurie Brooke, and together we will get to take a look at what goes on behind closed doors. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Krispin Watson.
Hi, I am Krispin Watson. I am 32 years old and I am a divorced single mom.
Krispin Watson is a divorced mum and wealth of knowledge when it comes to real estate, entrepreneurship, growing a social media presence, parenting, and more. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Relationship Talks. My name is Laurie Brooke, and I am here with the delightful Krispin Watson. Now, as you heard in the intro, Krispin is a divorced single mum. She's got 2 children, a 9-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. Thank you so much for joining me today, Krispin.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you here because when you introduced yourself to me, you said, and I'm going to read this, you said you've mastered the art of balancing work and showing up as a rock star mum for your kids. I love that because I think I'm still trying to find that balancing act. So tell me about how you got to being a rock star mum.
It came down to actually just loving myself completely and wanting nothing but happiness and peace in my life. So I had to master that before I was able to show up fully for my kids. And a lot of things came with that, like with my job, transitioning from corporate America to being an entrepreneur. That helped tremendously because it allowed me to have more flexibility, more time to be in their lives. I didn't have to worry about asking a job like, hey, can I get off so I could go see my kids sing in the Christmas program at school today? So it was making those decisions so I could show up and show up fully for them. But it started with me just really loving myself and figuring out what I was going to put up with and what I wasn't.
And I know you said you went through a life-changing divorce, and I think most people would say that going through a divorce is life-changing for anyone. How did you find that really impacted your relationship with the kids? Did you find that you struggled for a little bit, or was it okay? You kind of just continued to pick up the pieces as you were? How did that impact you?
Yes, it impacted me very, very hard. When separated from my husband, when we separated, I was pregnant with our son. So imagine, going through a divorce that's already traumatic. You're sad. You're kind of blaming yourself. You're trying to figure out, was I the problem? What was the issue? You're dealing with that. I was depressed during that time. And on top of that, I'm carrying the child. So I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not about to be with this person and I'm carrying their baby. So you can just kind of imagine like the headspace I was in at that time. I had my daughter when I was going through this. She was about 5 years old. So, she's, going in kindergarten and things like that. So I'm still having to show up for her, but still deal with a mental battle over here while going with an ongoing divorce, having to deal with being pregnant and making myself eat. And I think that was nothing but God. God allowed me to carry my son during this time because I was depressed to the point where I would not eat. I did not have an appetite. And I know any woman that has gone through a breakup, sometimes you'll lose your appetite. Like it'll make you sick physically if you allow it to. But just knowing that I was carrying a seed just really made me say, okay, hey, Crispin, you can't be down for too long. You're carrying a child. It's nothing you can do about what's going on. So just pick up the pieces and move forward and do it with your best foot forward. So that impacted me tremendously, but it did help me grow into the woman I am today. And I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I used to, kind of be sad about it for a while, but it took me a while to kind of get to where I am today, which is seeing that it was actually a blessing.
And was it after your divorce that you became an entrepreneur and started your own real estate business?
Yes, it was after that.
So do you think that that was kind of a little bit of a push, even though it may have seemed to be a hurdle at the time, to actually alter from corporate America and into your own business?
Yeah, honestly, my story into transitioning from corporate America to entrepreneurship is kind of funny. I didn't do it on purpose. Eventually, I was going to step out there and just, be a full time whatever I was going to do. But I actually got fired from my job, which was so crazy to me because I've never been fired from a job ever in my life. So that took me to, and that was when I had just found out, like I was just going through a tough time. So I ended up getting fired from my job, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to allow anybody to have this power over me again. I'm going to work for because it was so out of the blue. It was wrong. Like, I honestly did not do anything to get fired. And at that moment, I decided I will never allow that to happen to me again. I'm going to be in charge of my own financial situation to the best ability that I can possibly manage.
That's a fantastic story, because I think it also goes to show that at the end of the day, even if you're working for someone or in a relationship, there's always elements of control, and it's about being able to make decisions for ourselves.
Absolutely. Yes, and that's one thing I kind of went through with my ex-husband. I felt like he kind of wanted to be in control all the time. And, I grew up in the word, I'm all about being submissive, the man leading the household. I believe in that. But submissiveness and controllingness are like two different things. So, yeah, that's kind of one thing that I really can't deal with, the essence of control.
So you said that becoming a rock star mum learnt, you had to learn how to love yourself and take care of yourself first and foremost. So what do you do in that regard? What's your self-care routine?
Yes. Seeing a therapist, speaking with a therapist is the number one thing that kind of pulled me out of the hole. Just, being able to talk to someone that's not involved in the situation. So they're not, it's not your friends and your family. So they're not swayed, to automatically take your side in the situation. But even to this day, I'm not in therapy anymore. I was going through the divorce. But for today, my self care routine, actually, today was a self care day for me, and for me, that looks like me going to the gym. I've gone back in the gym, really heavily. I'm trying to get myself in the best shape possible. So working out, working my body, going to my nail appointment. I got a mani and a pedicure. So that's always fun. It makes me feel good. And just kind of relaxing, taking time to turn off work, turn off actually thinking about something, because I used to spend my self-care time like I would be getting a pedicure, but I'm on there like I have my laptop in my lab, sending emails, doing this, doing that, not really soaking up the moment and just enjoying the me time. So now I've made it a habit to actually just like turn off any distractions and just enjoy and think and meditate in that moment. And even to me, like me sitting down and watching a movie or like binge watching a Netflix series, that's self-care to me because I'm not a big TV watching person. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, we're just like on the go, on the go, on the go. So we don't really sit down and watch TV a lot. So like watching TV is a self-care routine for me. And another thing I like to do, which I'm slowing down on because I said I'm back in the gym, is taking myself out to eat. I like to eat. I like good food. So I'll take myself out to eat and take myself to have a drink and just kind of enjoy that time to myself away from the kids without hearing mama, mama, mama every 5 minutes.
I know sometimes you just want to change your name, don't you? You're like, I'm not mum today.
Right? Like get somebody else to do it.
Very much so. So what's your favorite food?
I love Mexican food. Like any Mexican restaurant, Mexican, like the cheese, the chicken, the rice. I
Yeah.
love Mexican food.
Nice. And a
Authentic
nice
Mexican
margarita to go
food.
with that.
Yes.
So, Crispin, in terms of, I suppose, balancing work, balancing running a business, I know you've got your own podcast, you've got an amazing website, you're selling and helping people invest in real estate, and then your mum as well. How do you find that a typical day for you looks like? How do you manage
I
to
said,
fit it all into one?
Yeah, I'll walk you through my day. I'll get up. Thankfully, I'm not that entrepreneur that's going to say, I get up at 4 o'clock a.m. and I go work out at 5. And I didn't know I get up at the latest time that I can possibly get up, and that's 7 o'clock a.m. because I have to leave my house by 7:35 to get my kid to school. The school is like a mile up the street. So we can leave at like 7:40, honestly, and make it there. So I would drop my kids off and then I go straight to the gym from that. I'll either do like an hour and a half, just depending on what mood I'm in at the gym. If I have any errands to run, I'll do that. And then I'll go to the office. So I'm usually in the office meeting with my mentees, making real estate calls, just doing real estate business up until it's time to stop and go get in the carpool line and pick the kids up from school. So at that point, once if I don't get what I need to get done between the hours of 8 and 2, it's gonna take me a while to get to it because once my kids are with me, I'm back in mommy mode. I pick them up, I cook, I make sure I'm helping with homework, I getting baths, ironing clothes for the next day. So I really turn into the mom after that. But in between time, of course, I'll take, calls here and there. And every day is different. Some days I may have to go straight from the carpool line and drive an hour away with the kids to a showing, and I bring them to work with me. So that's one thing I love about being a real estate agent. I run my own business, so if I have to bring my kids with me, it's never a problem.
It's one of those things I personally struggled with it at the start in terms of finding that balance of it is okay when your children are home to actually
Mhm.
switch off and be mum and help them
Yeah.
with the homework and do all that, as opposed to feeling like you need to be at your desk making the calls, doing the work, running a 9 to 5 business. Because I think you also have the flexibility, don't you, at the end of the day when they're in bed, to, if you need to, you can jump back on the computer and do some more work. But there's also a lot
Yeah,
of
and that's
times when you don't need to do anything until the next day.
absolutely. And I'm a victim of that. But I get my best work done, I feel like, when they're in the bed. So when I've put them to bed, I'm like, okay, let me bring my laptop back out. I'll be honestly, I really don't go to bed until like 1 a.m., like 12:30 and 1 a.m. And I know that's probably not good, which is why I sleep until 7 because I'm up working on my computer. I'm working on marketing or doing something that I can do while they're asleep. So
Yeah.
it's the life. It's the mom life.
And it works. Like, we don't have to be
It
tied to the
does.
computer. Yeah, that's what I love about running your own business and being able to still be there and be present when you need to be.
Mhm.
You don't have to miss out on it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, I just I found myself having to be more intentional because when I did first get into being a full-time entrepreneur, I was like, okay, it's time to hustle, hustle, hustle. Like all day long, you work more for yourself than you do for a 9 to 5. Because with a 9 to 5, you work those 8 hours and you go home and you can turn it off and not think about it. But when you're an entrepreneur, that phone is ringing all day. Sometimes it's ringing all night. You're getting emails all throughout the day. You feel like there's always something you could be doing. So I would be caught up in that. I would be working, working, working to where I really wasn't spending time with my kids. Like I was there in the flesh, but I wasn't really present with them mentally and doing activities with them. So I've tried to become more intentional by actually setting a day aside where I say, hey, we have like movie night every week. So we're going to have movie night on Fridays. We're all going to get in my bed. We're going to pop popcorn and we're going to find a movie to watch uninterrupted, unplugged, cell phones off. And some days like, okay, we're going to bake cookies, but I've tried to be more intentional and actually fully turning off from work, because sometimes we can say we're turned off, but like as soon as like a business text comes through, we're like, okay, let me handle this. It's only going to take like 1 minute, and it ends up taking like 20 or 30. Next thing you know, you're doing 10 other things.
Yeah. What do you love doing with your kids? When you've got that time, when you're being really intentional and spending time with them, what do you love doing with them?
I just love doing different activities. I just took my daughter on her first plane ride. We went to Washington, D.C. So traveling, that's something that I'm starting to enjoy doing. While we were there, we did ice skating, but just like different outside activities. Like I took my son to the movies for the first time a few weeks ago. So he enjoyed that. We like to cook together. My kids love to cook, and I'm like, oh, I cook because I have to, but they actually enjoy doing it. It's fun to them, so I like cooking with them, and just kind of doing different activities around the city, whether it be like bowling or ice skating or something like that.
It is it is something that kids in the kitchen, it's a real magical experience for them. And it's very hard for me, especially. I'm a clean freak. And when my daughter gets in the kitchen and starts making mess, I'm like, she's having so much fun. And I just look at the mess and think I've got to clean that up afterwards.
Right, right. Let's make a game about cleaning up now, you guys.
You can make games about anything these days.
Right. They'll be like, let's see who can clean up the fastest.
Very much so. So is your daughter on school holidays at the moment, or is she back at
They
school?
were She's back at school. They went back 2 days ago, so they're back full time. I am happy to get, my time back. My son is in pre-K, so he went back as well. So thank goodness. I'm still kind of adjusting to this because for 2 years I was like a entrepreneur but a stay-at-home mom as well. So he wasn't in daycare. So he was with me 24/7. And my therapist was like, I don't see how you do it because usually when parents go to work, they do get that break from their kids when their kids are like at daycare. They at least get like that 8-hour window where they have a peace of mind. But I was 24/7 with him to the office, to the gym. Like he was in that routine with me to the point to where when he did go to pre-K and I would like go in the bank or something, they're like, oh, where's Grant? Where is he? They're so used to seeing him with me all the time.
Is he enjoying it though?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. It is so cute because he won't nap at school, and when I'll come pick him up, his teacher will say, "Yeah, he said he didn't want to nap because he missed you. He missed his mom."
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know, but he doesn't nap at home, so I'm not surprised. Like he hasn't napped since he was 2 years old, so that doesn't surprise me.
He's used to being on the go.
Right. Yes, all the time. Like he is a handful. He ended up getting on America's Funniest Home Videos one time because he got his arm stuck in a vase. And I had to take him to the fire station to get out. And I made like a little video just to show his father and my parents because I was panicking that morning, like, oh my gosh, y'all, what do I do? His arm is stuck. I'm trying to get it out. He's screaming. It's 6 in the morning on a Saturday. This is what I'm waking up to. So I ended up taking him to the fire department and they got it off. But the video went viral online. And I would be around telling people like, is that the little boy that got his arm stuck in the vase? I'm so embarrassed. I was like, yeah, that's him. He keeps me going for sure.
Oh, that's great. So tell me about your relationships with your ex-husband now. Do you still have an ongoing relationship in terms of co-parenting or anything like that?
It's been so hard, trying to co-parent with him. Since the divorce for years, we didn't communicate. Like even like the situation when we were going through the divorce and I told you I was pregnant, he said that I was faking the pregnancy, like there was no baby. He put out these rumors that I was so crazy and I wanted him back so bad that I was faking a baby. I was like, okay, we'll see how fake it is once the baby comes. The baby came, unfortunately, he was not active in his life. He didn't help out. He didn't try to see him, didn't try to be the role, as a father, which was very, very sad and unfortunate. But since then, he has come around. to where he will call every now and then, but it's not to me on a consistent basis as it should be to really develop a relationship in a child's life. I think he's at the point where he thinks like him paying child support is enough, but it's not. You have to actually develop a relationship with him. He's remarried now. He has another child. Um, but I haven't even met the wife, which is crazy to me, and I'm trying to meet her. So hopefully, one day we can work that out so we can all co-parent effectively because it does take a village. And I want that for Grant. I want him to actually know his father and see him being a good example in his life because I feel like, those patterns are sometimes repeated. My ex-husband's father wasn't really active in his life growing up like that. So those patterns are being repeated here with our son. But hopefully, the child that he has, with his wife that's living with them, hopefully they will actually get to see him being a father. But as far as like my relationship with him, yeah, I mean, we're cordial to where we actually speak now, but it's not as consistent as it should be, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll get there.
How do you think your daughter coped with that separation from him?
Yeah, he was her stepfather. So I
Yeah.
had her before I married him. So she was okay with it. It happened very quickly. That's the thing. We got married, and I kid you not, probably like under 40 days later was when this separation happened. So it was to the point she was like, okay, he's gone. Okay, whatever. And
Yep.
she was young, so she was like, I really don't know you that well anyway, so like you're like gone to me now. But thankfully she was there by my side when I was going through this period of being, depressed and pregnant. She was there for me. Like she really, really was. So I appreciate her so much for just the role she plays. She doesn't know, like, she kind of saved my life in a sense because I still had to care for her. I had to care for the child that I was carrying and just, kind of be there for them. So children are definitely a blessing to anyone that may be second guessing it out there because I know it gets hard. I know sometimes we get frustrated and we second guess ourselves like, what am I even doing? Should I even be a parent? Yes, you should be because, everything happens for a reason. You're a mom for a reason.
What do you want your children to know growing up in terms of love, relationships? When they get
Yeah,
older, what would you like them to know?
I would like them to know that love is defined in the Bible. And if you can't read that definition and the person that you with, they fit that or they are doing those things, then that's not true love. Because the situation that I went through with the divorce, I felt like if it was true love and we had really lived out our vows like we, were supposed to according to the Bible, we wouldn't even have gotten to that point because the Bible says that love keeps no record of wrong. So if you're holding on to things, if you don't have a heart of forgiveness, that's not love. So if they come across a person that's, they're not patient with them, they're not kind, they're not selfless, that's not love. But I want them to know that I always love them. They always have, love in their mom. They can come to me about anything. But I do hope that they actually could just open up their hearts and receive and give love as it should be given.
And if you've learned anything going through all of this, what is it that you've learned?
I've learned to never come down on yourself. Honestly, it grew my faith. It helped me to always know that, although it's dark right now, it's going to get better. You just have to take it as a test and just know that life isn't going to always be easy. So kind of always kind of expect the unexpected. Don't put too much into things. I'm not saying like don't have a guard up or anything like that, but just don't put your all into it to where if it does not work out, you're at a point to where you're feeling suicidal or you're just not who you are, the person that God created you to be. So just kind of grow with it, grow through it, and don't ever let it change you as a person unless it's changing you for the better.
They are beautiful words. Thank you so much for joining me today, Crispin.
Thank you so much for having me, Lori. I really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. All the best for a beautiful 2023.
Same to you. Thank you.
That's okay.
And thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. If you can, I would love for you to jump on and leave a review. And whilst you are at it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please join me again next week when we get to take a look behind closed doors at someone else's relationship. But until then, I am your host, Laurie Brooke, and remember the choice is yours, so make today and the week the very best it can be.